Yesterday in the House of Representatives, Minister Daryl Vaz told us that JPS needs $350 billion to restore the electricity grid so that people can get electricity. He said that the government is going to take $150 million and lend it to JPS. I asked him, so what about the other $200 million? Are we going to ensure there's a plan that puts that money in place before we risk our 150 so that the full 350 that he said is the amount required is available to JPS? At that point, he went on a tirade, calling people bad mind, heartless, and all kind of foolishness. It was a simple question, it was a logical question, and it's a question they need to answer. Because we need the grid fixed, we need it fixed as quickly as possible. If it's going to cost $350 million to do it, only $150 million is on the table. What's the government's solution for that gap? Simple. And Minister Vaz, I have one more question. If it's $350 million to restore electricity, and you're willing to lend them $150 million without knowing where the other $200 million is coming from, which section of Jamaica are you willing to sacrifice by proceeding without sufficient money to fix the problem? So if only part of Jamaica is going to get fixed, which parts are not going to get fixed? Because we only have $150 million and not the $350 that it will take to do the job.
Yesterday, you recall that the Leader of the Opposition posed a question to me after my statement to Parliament, pretty much asking why would we release $150 million to the JPS without the JPS satisfying us that they have the ability to raise the additional $200 million that they would need. And my simple answer was that the people want light. And if I can get a deal where I can lend them $150 million and bring forward the restoration of power in the most affected areas by the end of January, early February, as against April, May, and possibly June, which is a projected timeline of the JPS, then I'm still at a loss as to how he could expect a responsible government to wait for a full financial package, which will take months to conclude and finalize, and not go ahead with the money that the government is prepared to lend on specific terms, which secures the government and the people of Jamaica and the taxpayers, whichever way the situation goes. They have a 5-year loan. If they get a license, a new license, they can raise capital and pay us back in 2 years when the license would be renewed.
Energy Minister Daryl Vaz says the cabinet has decided that the government will lend US $150 million to Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, to help fast track the restoration of electricity across the island. Patriotic comrades, may I go react and give me political commentary on this back and forth between Comrade Mark Jefferson Golding, 1MG, and Daryl Vaz. So let's listen up to this TVJ audio excerpt and me go react to the foolishness where Daryl Vaz are saying.
They are wicked and wicked and evil.
A few minutes of chaos in the House on Tuesday. Energy Minister Daryl Vaz announced that the government would lend JPS $150 million to help restore electricity in areas affected by Hurricane Melissa. The money will come from the Consolidated Fund. JPS would get up to 5 years to repay the loan, and the interest rate is to be negotiated. If JPS cannot pay back the money, the government would acquire its assets. The opposition had questions.
What is the value of that asset? Is the value of the asset done at today's date?
That is a premature question that I can't answer because I don't reach here yet.
How you mean that is a premature question and you can't answer that because it doesn't reach there yet? That is a legitimate common sense question, a no-brainer question where you're supposed to already have the answers to. Comrade Philip Palwell asks a legitimate question and Daryl Vaz can't answer. So what is this whole mess PR government doing? Clearly we can see say this is a PR statement by Daryl Vaz, there is no transparency. The moment Comrade Paul will ask him for transparency by saying, suppose JPS not pay back the money, what you go do? And at what rate as it relates to the US dollar? What is the value of the assets? Are the value of the assets calculated at today's US exchange rate? Valid question, legitimate question. Those are the things that we need to know. Daryl Vaz, so don't get defensive. When you get defensive, it more look like you have something to hide. And no amount of PR can save you from we. Because we know bill pan nothing solid. One question and you start fall apart. And the reason why you can't answer just because this is just a PR political spin. This is not real transparency. This is just fake transparency. They might pretend like they are being transparent, but they are not. And one simple question can expose that and expose the wholeness administration. A transparency we want, transparency we need.
Hours later at Wednesday's special briefing,
So $150 million will be set off with whatever that valuation is. And a valuation will be done based on the current status of JPS now, and also one if it comes the time where the assets have to be valued because the negotiations have broken down and JPS will not continue in 2027.
JPS's electricity license expires in 2027. Mr. Vaz says the government's team is ready to negotiate a new license. The team, which includes consultants out of the United Kingdom, should arrive next week. Next issue, JPS needs $350 million to restore the grid. The government is lending the $150 million to pay for 300 additional linesmen and restore power by January-February 2026. JPS is expected to come up with the remainder of the money, $200 million.
Patriotic comrades, just so we're clear, the $150 million with them I talk about is from the catastrophic insurance coverage that Jamaica has with the World Bank, in which we receive full payout of US $150 million. So this is the money that will be lent to JPS. The question we may ask is, JPS as a private company, private utility company, why can't JPS secure their own funding as it relates to borrowing the total of the US $350 million what they say they need? Because this $150 million is supposed to be going to the Jamaican citizens. We see the government give out $10 million to the members of parliament in the worst damaged parishes. $10 million is not even a drop in the bucket. It is so insignificant to the bucket that even when it drop in a bucket, you don't even hear it, because that $10 million evaporate before you reach the bottom of the bucket. And you are going to take up US $150 million of our catastrophic insurance payout we get from the World Bank and taking a lend to JPS. That money should be going towards the worst affected parishes. If they did start spend that US $150 million now because they received the money, immediately the parish would start to get back on its feet, make JPS figure their own way out. JPS should have secure funding beforehand just in case one catastrophe like this happen. Just like how we have that catastrophe insurance with the World Bank, why the JPS not have one with the World Bank as well? So when something like this happen, then get a full payout for do what they need to do. I don't agree with this. I understand say JPS is a part of the disaster relief effort. I understand that 100%. You see me? But JPS is a private company. We're supposed to seek their own funding. They're not supposed to depend on the money. We're supposed to go to the people them were worse affected. That's all me I say. This no make no sense to me. So me agree with all of the questions them where Comrade Leader Mark Jefferson Golding asked Daryl Vaz.
What level of confidence do you have that 200 million will be raised by them? And what is the time frame that it has to be raised by for that target to be met? I want to know whether we're going to take that risk and disburse those funds to JPS until the damage fund is fully funded. I think it's necessary for us to do what is necessary to get JPS up and running as quickly as possible. But I think we have to do it very prudently and sensibly so that we don't unnecessarily expose taxpayers to loss.
This government is prepared on behalf of the people of Jamaica to release the $150 million in whatever tranches are required as quickly as possible to get the restoration going. And that's the difference between a caring government and somebody who has a financial background.
So now we have Daryl Vaz try frame it in our way that, oh, we are the caring government, so that's why we are do what we are do. But here is where Daryl Vaz went wrong in his little PR rhetoric rant when depan and I be all defensive. And when he say this is the difference between a caring government and someone with a financial background. Now here comes the ad hominem attack. This is where someone attacks you personally instead of attacking your arguments. Whether your argument is in the form of a line of questioning. So instead of Vaz answering the legitimate questions of Mark Jefferson Golding, he went on the offensive. You see me? And I attack Mark Golding personally and I say, oh, I wouldn't expect you indirectly, basically I say, oh, I wouldn't expect you to understand because a financial background you have, so. And we are the caring government, so because you don't care, and that's why you say what you say and bad mind and you know the JLP, you know, talking points them already. Them PR talking points. Everything that this whole mess administration do is always a PR stunt. Whether it's in rhetoric or if it's on camera, it is a PR photo op. So no substance. But it's a legit question, Vaz. Simple question. So I wish you would answer the question.
You don't need to personalize your response. You don't need to get hot under the collar. It's a legitimate question I'm asking. And I'm just, so don't bother about having a financial background. I want to know the simple question. Are you going to ensure the funding is in place?
Patriotic comrades, what we have here is a spat of a back and forth between Comrade Leader Mark Jefferson Golding and Daryl Vaz. Daryl Vaz seems to get super defensive as if he's under attack, but the questions are legitimate, commonsensical. These are no-brainer questions in a way, warrant a simple answer, but apparently what happened is that the government never properly thought this through. Them just make it up as they go along. So in the wholeness administration mind is that we will figure it out further down the line. Hence they don't know what interest rate them will charge JPS when they lend them that $150 million US. So them still no negotiate on that yet. And me can tell you this, that interest rate will be very favorable and very low towards JPS. Whereas if JPS did step to a financial institutions or the owners of JPS step to a financial institution in their country of origin, car a foreign people own JPS, and then go to the bank in their overseas country and say, hey, and I believe it's two different overseas entities own JPS, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but For example, and argument's sake, each of them step to a bank in a country and say, hey, me gonna need 75 million US dollars, and the other one in a for them country say, me gonna need 75 million US dollars. So if it is a case that JPS actually needs 350 million US dollars, JPS is a private company. Why the owners of this private local utility company no seek the financing from a bank? Why does JPS not have some form of disaster relief insurance with the World Bank like what our government have with the World Bank? Why the owners of JPS? Because I think it's two different entities from overseas, two different overseas entities own JPS. Don't quote me upon that. So why these two foreign entities not check the bank in their own country and say, alright, me I gonna need 175 million US dollars because me own a private utility company in Jamaica, and I don't know if you know, but Jamaica was, well, the western part of Jamaica was devastated by a category 5 hurricane, and my other partner in such and such country, them I will get financing from a bank in their country of the same 175 million US dollars, because in total they need 350 million US dollars. The reason why them I choose maybe if you not go that route there with all of the money is because private companies always I think about to make a profit. So me can tell us this 150 million where them I borrow from the government will be at a reduced interest rate compared if they did go to a bank in their respective countries. So now, since two different people own JPS in partnership, them only need each 100 million each to get the balance of that 200 million, because they secure 150 million from the Jamaican government. But the real question is when Markija ask is how you are push forward with this thing and JPS no secure the additional 200 million what they need in total. And if you are going to give them this US $150 million, that means some part of Jamaica will get abandoned and still left in the dark, literally. So that is the question where Marky G ask. Reasonable, logical, commonsensical question, and Daryl Vaz I get defensive. Nobody now attack you, Daryl Vaz. It's just that we know say una want PR government, and you doing this is just PR because this lack a whole heap of transparency. So here is the whole mess administration playbook. Them actually come out, make public statements, which is just surface level PR rhetoric. If you give the public something to hold on pan, but as we say, it's surface level. So beneath it, it lack one whole heap of transparency and a bag of questions with no answers to them, as we can see what take place in Parliament between Marky G and Daryl Vaz. Because Marky G asks a lot of legitimate questions and there is no answers coming from Daryl Vaz. So, as me say, it is just surface level PR by Daryl Vaz and the whole mess administration. And I make it look like, say, they are being transparent, but there is no transparency. But big up to our comrade leader, Marky G. You actually expose them as the PR government would them be. No substance. And when you see Daryl Vaz come out with the ad hominem attacks, attacking Mark Golding personally instead of addressing the questions or the line of questions that was asked by Mark Golding, then you know say something right, something add up. You see me? Yeah man, some foolishness there afoot. No transparency. That's why I say they're a PR government. This wellness administration is a PR government. Vaz gonna make a public statement to make it look like say, oh, we are being transparent because we are gonna take the US 150 million lend to JPS. That's the trick, you know. Them a make it look like say, that is being transparent. But behind all of that, there are a lot of questions without answers. So unafe kinda admire the geniusness of their PR, because most people don't get it and they go over the heads of a lot of people. But if people them will listen to me, I am able to break it down. So the people them will listen to me actually get it and see this whole mess administration for who them be.
The member is saying that his position is that he would not release $150 million unless he knew where the $200 million was coming from. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. Answer is there.
Members,
You are a wicked and evil. Bad mind don't go on yet from September 3rd.
members,
Wicked and evil.
In the end, the minister said the $150 million loan to JPS was enough to meet the January-February 2026 target. Details of the agreement with the finance ministry will be made public.
We will work with JPS in whichever way, shape or form that is required, if it means that we are to benefit the people of Jamaica in the shortest possible time. All options are open for discussion.
Patriotic comrades, what we're getting from Daryl Vaz is a lot of deflection with little to no transparency as to actually answer the question them when Markiji asks him. And he continues with his relentless ad hominem attacks. You hear me talk about, oh, the bad man from September 3rd, who is a wicked evil people. Yeah, because he might try reframe the narrative, to control the narrative and give the perception that the PMP wicked and evil and they don't care. That is why Mark Golding asks the question where I ask, cause Mark Golding, you're not supposed to ask a question there. I come in a parliament and I tell you what it is, when you just need to leave it alone and don't ask no question. So he's trying to silence Mark Golding and the PMP by calling them bad mind, say them wicked and evil and they don't care. You see me? And I thought about, oh, I wouldn't expect you to understand because you have a financial background. Pure deflection. Once you back them in one corner, then try to silence you with all type of JLP PR talking points, reframe the narrative and paint you as the wicked and evil person. I try paint you in a negative light. You see me? Clever political spin just to control and reframe the narrative.
It may sound harsh, but if Jamaica wasn't so corrupt, Andrew Holness would not have won a second term, much less a third term. His name could not be on a ballot in any election. Under law, he's not supposed to be on a ballot while being investigated for illicit enrichment and general corruption. This is unheard of anywhere else in the world. It may sound